Hi YouTube, it's Kathy and this is my weekly entertainment wrap-up from March 26th to June 1st. This week I read 5 books, I watched 5 shows, and I listened to 2 books. I technically only read 4 of those books this week, but I forgot to talk about one of them in my last weekly wrap-up, so I guess we're talking about it now. This is what happens when you just don't write things down, you forget to talk about them. So the book I forgot from last week is Umbrella Academy Volume 1. I'm reading the Umbrella Academy series before I watch the TV show because that's who I am as a person. This one starts out with a bunch of babies being born kind of spontaneously worldwide, and then this evil genius of sorts collects 7 of them, hoping that they have special powers, and then cultivates said powers. We flash forward 30 years and obviously a lot of things have happened, and also this series is just weird. I like it, and it's weird. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in volumes 2 and 3 before I move on to watching the show. On to what I actually read this week, first being Front Desk by Kelly Yang. This is a middle grade novel about Mia, who has moved into this motel that her parents run, and the owner of the motel is not the nicest human. They are immigrants from China, and as such they are being treated very poorly by the employer because he thinks he can get away with it. I absolutely gushed about this one in my May wrap-up. I really enjoyed this book. It talked about working conditions and friendships and what's fair, and I just loved everything about it, and I love that all of these things were being talked about in a middle grade novel. I also read Moonstruck Volume 2, Some Enchanted Evening. This one is just as adorable as the first novel and also just as disjointed in its storytelling. It's still very enjoyable to read, but there's something off about it and I've never really been able to put my finger on it. That being said, it's cute and it's queer and it's fluffy and I like it. This one takes place in a universe where everyone has some form of power. For example, our main character is a werewolf. She's got a werewolf girlfriend. Her best friend is a centaur who uses they-them pronouns. And the central conflict in this one is between a fraternity and a sorority that are both powered by Fae. We've reached the time of year where I'm just gonna be sweaty in videos because I can't turn on the fan, otherwise you won't be able to hear me. This week I also read The Library of the Lost and Found. This one I believe was recommended to me because it's very much like the Book of Speculation, which I read earlier this year. It centers on a librarian in a small town. They find this book that has to do with something with their family's history. All of these things are true for both of these books. This one's centered on Martha, who needs to learn to say no to doing other people's projects for them because nobody is grateful for what she does for them. Although I really enjoyed reading this book, I saw a lot of the plot points coming from a mile away. That being said, we all know I like bookish books, so I enjoyed my experience. And the final book is just a wee little book called Book Love. This is a short hardbound graphic novel about this girl who likes books. It's obviously right up my alley, and every single comic was relatable to me. I don't know if it's the fact that I just talked about all of these in my May wrap-up where I had to do it very, very quickly because I had to talk about 30 things in that wrap-up, but I feel like I don't have that much more to say about these books. I enjoyed them all, they were delightful. Front Desk in particular was very hard-hitting, but other than that, it was just a good reading week. On to what I watched this week, I watched a couple of episodes of Fear the Walking Dead. The person I'm watching it with is currently on a road trip, so it'll be at least a couple of weeks before we get into that, and then pretty soon after he gets back, I go away for 3 weeks, so it's gonna be a while before we finish this season. I was not ready for a certain person to leave the cast though, so was kind of upset that that happened. We are also currently watching the 20th season of Survivor, which again is heroes versus villains. There were some people that went home that I was not ready for them to go home, so we'll see how this season works out. Since there's no current season of Survivor to watch, my roommate and I watched an episode of Better Call Saul, which was actually very interesting timing because the next day I watched all 6 episodes of Good Omens, and Charles McGill from Better Call Saul is in Good Omens, which I did not know going into it and was very excited about it because he played Shadwell so well. I actually vlogged the experience of watching that entire show, so I will link that in places and you can go watch that. And the last thing I watched this week was just an episode of the 2nd season of Drag Race last night after I got home from a beer festival and really just couldn't focus on anything, so I thought, why not put on this very old episode and just chill out. On to what I listened to this week, the first one being The God Delusion by Richard Dawkins. This book is about atheism and disproving the existence of God, and although he was preaching to the choir in that I am currently atheist, he's not wrong, but he's an asshole, is basically what I feel about this book. In the introduction, he said that atheist people are just as persecuted as queer people from 50 years ago, and no friend, no. And he also liked to throw the feminists under the bus every once in a while because, sure, why not? Other than that, the logic he used for his arguments was sound, but again, I went into this already having that belief, so it's not like it was going to be a hard sell for me. The book I actually enjoyed listening to this week was I Wish You All the Best by Mason Deavers. In case this is the first booktube video you've watched in quite a while, I Wish You All the Best is about Ben, who comes out to their family as non-binary and is kicked out of the house and ends up living with their estranged sister Hannah. They end up switching schools because of this process, as well as seeing a counselor and going through a lot of grief because of being kicked out, but then also reconnecting with this sister that left them behind. This book absolutely deserves all of the hype it's getting. I absolutely adored the characters, I adored the romance, I adored the friendships, I adored everything. It was hard-hitting but so enjoyable to read. It actually ended up being my second favorite thing I read in all of May, so if you want to know what the first was, you can watch that wrap up. That's it for this week. If you've read, watched, or listened to any of these, let me know about it down in the comments below. On the way down to the comments, if you hit that subscribe button, that would be very nice of you. You can like and share this as you see fit, and I will see you very soon. Bye!